Well, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. As you probably know, New Japan Pro Wrestling are almost at the finish line because, as you probably can guess, we're heading to the G1 Climax Play-off. Now, who will walk out to go and face the wrestlers who are in a bye? Who will come out between Yota Tsuji and Shota Umino to face later on Evil, or of course, David Finlay and Konosuke Takeshita to face off, of course, Zack Sabre Jr. So this is going to be fun. And as for TNA, as you all know, they're only 1 day away from Emergence. Now the stakes are high, as you probably know. The TNA World Title and the TNA Knockouts World Title are at stake. The real question is, can our competitors regain those belts and bring them back to TNA? Or once again, NXT reign supremes on that? And of course, other matches have been made as well. We have plenty of title matches and grudges, so we'll see how things will progress from there. And then finally, Ring of Honor features plenty of matches, including, of course, a proving ground match for the ROH Pure Wrestling Championship. Lee Moriarty faced off against Shuaya, I think that's his name, in a proving ground match. But the real question is, will Lee Moriarty come out victorious, or will Shuaya get his opportunity of the championship? So we'll see what happens. And then, as always, we'll cap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events and promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling as we speak. So let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in the world, pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. Click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of data reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or nice comments in the description down below. Now, enough with the talking, let's get cracking. So let's begin, of course, with New Japan Pro Wrestling as we continue on with day 17 of the G1 Climax. Alright, so let's begin with New Japan Pro Wrestling as we continue with day 17 of the G1 Climax. Now keep in mind, we already announced who is already representing the respective blocks. Now, as you know, for the A block, we have Evil, David Finlay, and of course, Yota Tsuji. And as for the B block, we have Shota Umino, Konosuke Takeshita, and I believe, who was the other one? Oh yeah, and Zack Sabre Jr. Now, however, in this match, both in this whole stage right now, we have Zack Sabre Jr. and Evil are currently have a bye. So basically, we have two playoff matches. So I'll explain a little bit about that one as we go. So let's talk about the entirety of the event. Our first match, we have Shoma Kato teaming up with Yoshihashi to take on Satoshi Kojima and Taichi. Now, this was a very unusual team up for obvious reasons. Now, for those who don't know, prior before Suzuki-gun was ever formed, they were just renamed after, of course, from Satoshi Kojima when he had Kojima-gun. Consisted of him, MVP, Taichi, and of course, Taka Michinoku, until, of course, was his name, Minoru Suzuki showed up and took over, and of course renamed the group known as Suzuki-gun, which obviously we all know completely. So it's very interesting to see these two team up. Now, of course, I'm sure there's been a lot of frictions between those two, between Taichi and Kojima, even though they're both Hantai. I don't know how their relationship would be. But in the end, of course, it was Kojima who picked up the win with the lariat on Kato, and just like that, it was over. Of course, Taichi didn't stick around to celebrate more, but he just left. Whatever reasons going on, I'm sure, he and Kojima will try to resolve it after all these years, because, as I mentioned, they were part of Kojima-gun back in the day. Now, our next match, we have the House of Losers. Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Yujiro Takahashi, Ren Narita, and Sanada taking on Toru Yano, El Phantasmo, and Bolton Oleg. Now, of course, when it comes to the House of Losers, we know how they operate. They like to cheat their way through to ensure they get their matches won. And that's exactly what happened. Yano, on the other hand, was the latest victim of that scheme by Ren Narita when he applied the push-up bar, and then, of course, a submission by Narita himself to pick up the win. So just like that, Yano had no choice but to tap. Now, our next match, we have the United Empire, consistent of Jacob Austin Young, Cal Newman, and Grado Khan, taking on Katsuya Murashima, Yuya Uemura, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, of course, some factors you can tell that here we have, of course, the least experienced Katsuya Murashima as the weakest link due to the lesser experience when in his own team. So that kind of was the main factor of the whole thing. It was Cal Newman, I guess, who picked up the win, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we had Daiki Nagai and Shingo Takagi teaming up. They take on the Bullet Club War Dogs, Taiji Shimori and Daiki and Drilla Maloney. Now, of course, factor of this is like we saw in the previous match, Daiki Nagai, who is now associated with former members of LIJ, Shingo Takagi, Hiromu Takahashi, and Yota Tsuji, so he is their helping hand. And of course, he's the weakest link due to him being the least experienced in his team. So basically, it was Taiji Shimori who, in fact, applied the bone lock onto Nagai, and just like that, Nagai had no other choice but to tap out. Now, our next match, which is featuring the other members of the House of Losers, we have Doiki Don Fale and, of course, the biggest scumbag, Evil, taking on TMDK, Hartley Jackson, Rohei Oiwa, and Zack Sabre Jr. Now, of course, it's obvious Evil has sights set on the IWGP World Heavyweight title, which we know he has aimed for in the past. But he thinks that he will come out on top of this because he thinks that he is the true wrestler. We all know that he's a scumbag. He cheats his way through. That's exactly what they're doing. However, of course, this match ended with an elbow drop by Fale onto Hartley Jackson, and just like that, it was over. But however, outside the match, Zack Sabre Jr. was intending to try to dismantle Evil by putting him in a leg lock and calling him a dickhead, which obviously he is. So it's like saying, "Come on, dickhead!" So basically, that would happen. But Evil thinks that he will walk out as the winner and get his title shot, and of course claim that right as he win it, he will take over New Japan and make the rules change. That's exactly what these guys have been doing for a while now. So hopefully he does not win. I just hope Evil does not win whatsoever. Now, as we jump into the G1 Climax Playoffs matches, our first match we have Konosuke Takeshita versus David Finlay. So as you probably know, Takeshita has been on fire. He's so far made it this far in the G1, but he's facing a guy who's a savage and a killer. So how would he survive that? I mean, they tried to brutalize each other in any way possible, but in the end, it was Takeshita who walked away with the win when he applied the Raging Fire. And of course, because of this win, he faces, of course, against Zack Sabre Jr., and that's going to happen on the 16th of August. So we stay tuned for that. And as for a main event part of the G1 Climax Playoff, we have Yota Tsuji versus Shota Umino. Now, it's no stranger that these two guys know each other too well. If you guys remember, Shota Umino went on an excursion to RevPro years ago until, of course, Yota Tsuji joined them and then later backstabbed them to join the Legion, led by that idiot weasel Gideon Gray. But, of course, Tsuji has been part of LIJ ever since joining, and now history repeats itself. But I saw that, of course, Shota Umino throw a lot of everything that he had. But in the end, it was Yota Tsuji who picked up the win when he applied the Gene Blaster. And just like that, 1, 2, 3 is over. However, the biggest obstacle he has to go through is, of course, the one person that he lost recently during the tournament. And that is, of course, the biggest scumbag of the earth, of course. And that is Evil. So that's one of the things that is happening. So he will face Evil on the 16th of August, which is, of course, one of those things like, oh God, he better be ready, because we know Evil will do whatever it takes to win, and that's exactly what he's going to plan to do. But hope Tsuji has backup to help him out. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, we are done with New Japan. Let's move on, of course, with TNA. TNA. We're only one day away before Emergence. Now, it opened up, of course, with Moose on the ground. Looked like he was attacked. And of course, the rest of the system, they asked him what happened, and he revealed that it was Trick Williams and First Class. However, apparently when they ran into Santino, they told him, hey, Santino, we want this match now. We're not going to wait in the main event. But of course, that's exactly what happened. So DC, Eddie Edwards, and Brian Myers made their way to the ring, expecting Trick Williams and First Class. Now, of course, tensions are high, as you probably expect, as you know, because they will not appreciate the fact that, of course, Trick Williams took a title that doesn't belong to him, a title that now is in enemy territory in the wrestling world, if you guys know what I'm talking about. So it went in that fashion. However, things did not go according to plan by the system, because as soon as Brian Myers was alone with Rich Swann, Rich Swann stole the match by pinning Myers and using the ropes as leverage to keep them there. And of course, him, AJ Francis, and Trick are happy that things are going to go exactly according to plan. So if I was the system, I would definitely keep an eye on First Class to ensure nothing goes wrong in Emergence. So we'll see how things will go. Now, we jump into a women's tag team match. We have Myla Grace and Harley Hudson, as you know, made their debut not too long ago. They face against Dani Luna and Indy Hartwell. Now, nothing too special about this match whatsoever. Now, we do know Indy Hartwell has goals in mind. But in the end, of course, Indy Hartwell was the one who picked up the win when she applied the Hurt Donut onto Myla Grace. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And of course, both teams shook hands, showing the sign of respect. However, during the post-match, of course, while Indy Hartwell and Dani Luna were making their way up to the ramp, apparently out of nowhere, Rosemary gave her the green mist. And it's very crazy how that happened. I mean, we know that Rosemary is out of it, but that's exactly what took place. Now, our next match, we have John Skyler versus Matt Cardona. Now, for those who may not remember, the system had their issues towards the Order of 4. And of course, you know, Matt Cardona got screwed by that idiot Agent Zero out of nowhere. And then he gets his hands, of course, on John Skyler. But during the match, Tasha Steelz and Jason Hodge tried to get involved, but it backfired until Matt Cardona applied the radio silence, and just like that, it was over. But however, of course, the Order 4 decided to retaliate, and then, of course, that idiot, that big dumb brute, Orange Zero, Agent Zero showed up out of nowhere, my bad, and just double chokeslammed them down on the ground. And just like that, it was over. But however, Cardona told Tasha that he wants him in Emergence. So hopefully he gets a bit of a measure of payback for what he did. Now, Santino Marella, as you know, he has been seeing that the things have been boiling up in the Knockouts division, more specifically for the upcoming Knockouts World Tag Team titles in Emergence in a four-way match. So as you know, we have the Elegance brand, Em and Heather, the Inspiration, who else? That what's their names? Oh yeah, the Fatal Influence, and of course, Zaya Brookside and Li Yingling. So of course, tensions boiled. So Santino gave them, of course, a 5 minutes to, like a few minutes to get it all out, and apparently, time's up. So security had to separate them. But of course, Li Yingling decided to knock everyone out to send a direct message that things are gonna go crazy. Now, Gia Miller had the decency to ask Rosemary about why she did what she did by giving the green mist to Indy Hartwell. Well, apparently, Rosemary has been paying attention to what's been happening, because she feels that Indy Hartwell, as you know, is acting like she's owned the place. And not to mention, her goal is to aim for the Knockouts World title, which, of course, it's her primary goal. And Rosemary is now in her way, derailing that opportunity for her. So we'll see how that will progress from there. Now, Eric Young faces against Mike Santana. Now, as you know, Eric Young last week was criticizing Mike Santana, saying that you didn't get the job done to bring the TNA World title back. But of course, Mike Santana says, look, I'm going to get it back no matter what. But of course, Mike Santana has to deal with the Northern Armory on the outside of the ring. And that's exactly what he did. But however, he was able to walk away with the victory when he applied the spin the block onto Eric Young. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, apparently things got a little crazy when the Northern Armory decided to beat down Mike Santana. But thank God for Sami Callihan, who showed up to Mike Santana because he needs him. Because as you know, Mike Santana and Sami Callihan will deal with each other, because this could be Sami Callihan's last official match in TNA. Now, of course, we had a bit of a segment, the King's speech by the so-called King, Frankie Kazarian. As you know, the TNA International Championship will be on the line, so he brought in the competitors, the challenger, Jake Something, and of course, the champion, Steve Macklin. So you probably can guess how that was going to turn around. And of course, all hell broke loose. But we'll see what happens, of course, at Emergence. Now, our main event, this is a very special match. It's, of course, as you know, we have the bit of the challengers versus the champions. The challenger side, we have the Rascals, Myron Reed, and of course, Zachary Wentz, and of course, and then of course, Cedric Alexander. As you know, the Rascals are challenging the Hardys for the tag belts. As for Cedric Alexander, he's challenging the X Division Championship. And of course, we have the champions, our current TNA X Division champion Leon Slater. He teams up with his idols and heroes, the Hardys, our current TNA World Tag Team champions. So you probably can guess stakes are higher. But the real question is, who will walk out with the victory for the momentum until Emergence? I mean, I thought this match was absolutely brilliant. But however, things took a turn when, of course, when Leon Slater was about to get this match ended, until out of nowhere Cedric Alexander applied the lumbar check, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. So now we see who gets the momentum, but the real question is what's going to happen in Emergence. So we will see what happens until then. But as of right now, we'll end things here, and of course we move on to our last and final review. That will be, of course, Ring of Honor. Okay, Ring of Honor, so let's get to it. Now, our first match, we have an 8-man tag team match. We have Volador Jr. and Difunto teaming up with, of course, Bismuerto and Hechicero. They take on Spanish Announce Project, Angelico and Serpentico. They team up with Alex Zane and AR Fox. And of course, nothing is too special about this match or anything to tell the story. But however, we all know that Hechicero has one thing in mind, and that is to become the ROH World Champion. So he's determined to build momentum, to send a message to none other than Bandito. In the end, of course, it was Hechicero that applied like a somewhat modified version of the crucifix on Alex Zane, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But despite the victory, they decided to beat down on the losing opponents, and just like that, of course, we had Bandito, Brody King, Hologram, and Tomohiro Ishii to come out with the save. So, of course, Bandito is sending a direct message to Hechicero. As you know, they'll probably will meet up at Death Before Dishonor. Now, the premier athletes are now making a statement along with that weasel, Mark Sterling. So they're calling out 2 luchadors to see if they can step up. So that's going to be interesting. Now, our next match, we have Willie Mack versus Gringo Loco. Now, I know some people would say, well, these guys are not part of the rosters, but we have seen them participate in the events multiple times. But I have to say it was a pretty good match, but in the end, it was Willie Mack with the frog splash that walked out as the victor in this whole thing. Our next match, we have Lance Archer taking on Ren Jones. Well, you can guess how this match went down because, of course, we did see Lance Archer dragging his opponent from the ramp all the way to the ring, and then of course everybody dies. Blackout, just like that. Now, our next match, we have Taya Valkyrie versus Layla Gray. Now, some people would have assumed just by watching this match, you would think, okay, this match is over. Taya Valkyrie actually picked up the win. But what surprisingly, Layla Gray picked up an amazing win when she applied a Dragon Sleeper. I don't think I'd ever seen her use any submission since the first time I saw her. And of course, Christopher Daniels was there by her side. And I have to say, he did a pretty good job in coaching her. So it's a pretty good one. Now, Willie Mack, as you know, he has his sights set on one thing right now, and that is the Ring of Honor World Television title. But of course, Nick Wayne overheard it, so you probably can guess how this is going to go. Our next match, we have Oro, or formerly known as Oro Mensa, taking on Tomohiro Ishii. Now, of course, you probably know this match was going to fall in favor for Ishii because he's a tough SOB, and that's exactly what happened. He applied the Brainbuster, 1, 2, 3, over. Now, our main event is the ROH Pure Rules Proving Ground match. Now, keep in mind, this is a match where if you last 10 minutes or you beat your opponent, you get a title shot. So Lee Moriarty is the current ROH Pure Wrestling champion. He faced against Schweier. I have to say, it was a pretty good match, not to mention some good techniques. But of course, the rope breaks was interesting, is that both men were down to ropes, and they all had one each left. But this match was almost close by Schweier when he had Lee Moriarty in a submission, but unfortunately this match ended in time limit draw after 10 minutes. But because he stood this long, that means he will get an opportunity of the title. But I wouldn't be surprised if this match could happen at Death Before Dishonor. So we'll see what happens. So let's wait and see when the announcement will make, and hopefully let's see how this rolls out. But as of right now, we are done with this. Let's move on to our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with upcoming events. As you know, GCW will have their upcoming event on the 23rd of August at Atlantic City for Homecoming. This is, of course, for the 2-day event. Now, for the night 1, they announced Drew Parker will take on Marcus Mathers. Now, another homecoming event has been announced, but it's not in Atlantic City. It's going to happen in Los Angeles on September 20th in LA. They announced Frankie Kazarian will be participating in that particular event. Now, moving on. As you know, on the 22nd of August, RevPro will have their upcoming event, Global Wars UK. 3 matches have been announced. Blue Panther will take on Chris Ridgway, which I think is going to be good. As you know, Blue Panther is an excellent legend, as a technical wrestler. You probably can guess it's going to be good. And then, of course, we have Connor Mills will take on Yu Uemura. Then we got Persephone will take on Alexis Falcon. So that's pretty much the announcement for RevPro. Then, of course, we have the Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor. It's going to happen on the 29th of August. It was announced that the ROH Women's World Title will be on the line. Athena will defend her championship against Mina Shirakawa. Now, of course, if I do have any Mina fans out there, I'm sure many of you would say and comment down below and say, we want Mina to win the title. So we'll see how that rolls up. Now, on the 13th of September, we do have MLW's Fightland. They announced Volador Jr. will be participating. And then finally, Jersey Championship Wrestling with Knockout on the 21st of September. They announced Thomas Shire versus Matt Mako. So that's pretty much for the upcoming events. Now let's talk about a little bit on the developments. Many of you may have heard on social media that Ace Austin appeared in AEW during tapings. So it just been revealed and confirmed now he is All Elite. Now, as you all know, he recently was in TNA and he was a free agent since. So it seems now that Tony Khan wanted to take him in. So it looks like it's going to happen. I can't wait to see him on Collision because that's where people were saying he'll make his appearance. Now, an interesting thing happened. As you all know, Hikari Shimizu retired this past March due to her fear of long-term health concern due to an injury she obtained back in 2020. However, apparently some fan has not been keeping up about her status. He put up like her accomplishments when she debuted, when she got hurt, and of course he put in still active today. But the interesting part, Hikari Shimizu got wind of this page on X and kind of told him, "I'm retired. I worked in a shaved ice shop and a stone baked sweet potato shop." So I mean, yeah, I know she was working in a sweet potato shop, but yeah, this guy was not fully aware that she retired. I mean, if you're a wrestling fan, you should be aware of this. And I don't know where this guy got this brainless idea that she's still active. She hasn't been active, but I'm glad that Hikari Shimizu set the record straight. I mean, I have to say I give her credit for that. Now, many of you may have been hearing about recently about TNA having a TV deal either in CW and of course, or in AE. However, some things have been brought upon, of course, regarding about that. And the first one is coming from the Wrestling Observer, and this was on the radio show they had. This is what they talk about apparently because they're saying that WWE apparently wants to make sure AEW does not get another TV deal, and that TNA becomes the second biggest company in North America. And this is what they say. WWE really want TNA to become the other promotion because they can control TNA. This is a major full court press. They just want Tony Khan out of the box, and they know if the numbers stay good, he gets another renewal at much bigger number, just like he did. He's already very profitable. The numbers will make him incredibly profitable, and they never get away from him or anything like that. So they feel they need to make sure this is the last contract. So it's still being petty from WWE. They don't want them to become the number 2 promotion now. Recently, Eric Bischoff saying he believes that TNA will become, of course, the second promotion in North America. However, some fans think it's full of crap from them. We all know back in the day, TNA was the number 2 was supposed to have been the number 1 2 promotion. It's too late. But of course, that's the idea with WWE. They think that it's going to happen. it's not going to happen. They're trying to prevent them. But look, the numbers have been doing good for AEW. But however, another report was coming from John Alba from the Sports Illustrated, and this is what he said: that at least there has been talk with TNA moving WWE affiliate chain, and the company opened the switching Thursday to Wednesday night to go head-to-head with AEW Dynamite. Although it was not directly indicated that the destiny would be the CW, it was expressed that there's genuine interest in CW, and some WWE shareholders want TNA to put it back on off the chain. So basically, WWE wants to put this, wants TNA to go to head-to-head with AEW, but it seems CW had something else in mind that they wanted to do. But of course, WWE will do whatever it takes to stop AEW and just remove them out of the picture. That's exactly what they're going to do. But I highly doubt that's going to happen. I feel like CW may feel there's no way we're going to compete with AEW. They're doing good. So, but WWE's not going to take that kindly, as a, they'll do whatever it takes to derail AEW no matter what. But we'll see how things will progress from here on out. But as of right now, let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you probably know, we will have some interesting. Now, we probably will have Emergence from TNA. Hopefully I get the chance to see it. If not, then I'll save it for another day, because I don't know exactly. I need to catch up with everything else that I've been needing to do for a while. So I'll just wing it for the next episode as possible. So be patient with me, boys and girls. But as of right now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.